Hi children, it's Mr Yeardsley here at school. In a minute or two we're going to continue reading a bit of the Nothing to See Here Hotel. Hope you're all well and you're exercising, and maybe if you're out and about and exercising you might want to add a note to the We Miss You sign outside of school. It's been fantastic to read all the things that lots of friends have to say, and we are really missing you. Can you remember where we got up to in the book? We were up to chapter 7, and what had just jumped off the crow? Can you remember? Look. It was the Goblin from Goblin Post. There he is. Let's continue. So, this is the Nothing to See Here Hotel, Goblin said, looking around reception and nodding to himself. He had a thin clay pipe wedged between his teeth, and a wisp of yellow smoke wafted up and floated about him like a wreath. It was as if the rain and the wind hadn't touched it at all. Who'd have thought a scabrous old scrunt like me would end up bringing messages to a poshly place like this? My old mumsy wouldn't believe her peepers. He glanced upward and he grimaced at the rain that was still falling through the open sky door, then looked over to Mum. "'Scuse me, lady, I don't suppose you could shut that, could you?" "Oh my goodness, sorry," Mum blurted and fumbled with the key in the bumblebee lock. She turned it and the ceiling slid back into place with a loud groan of metal cogs. "There we are." "Thanks," said the Goblin, and he pulled off his woolen hat and he squeezed the rainwater out of it, then patted down his blood-red uniform. "Terrible tantrumy weather. I nearly got blown to Timbuk3. Mum darted out from behind the reception desk and joined me and Nancy beside the fountain. "Now, can we get you a cup of tea, Mr...?" "I ain't no mister," the Goblin laughed. "Mangle Jaw's me name. Muggety Mangle Jaw. But just plain old Mangle Jaw will do for now." "Well, hello, Mangle Jaw," Mum said, pulling her best welcome to the hotel smile. "What a lot of helloing," Mangle Jaw said. "I ain't got time for tea though, I'm afraid. A postal goblin's work is never done, and I've got grabfuls of letters to deliver yet, and..." "What's going on?" Everyone jumped and spun round as Dad wandered into the reception hall from the library with a stack of books in his hands. He'd been in there all afternoon trying to sort out an ink blot problem. A family of blots had checked into the pages of the books and rearranged all the letters to make more room for their ink luggage. "Did I hear the sky room?" he said. "Dad, it's a Goblin messenger." Dad looked at me, then at Mum and Nancy. He peered over his glasses and he frowned, scanning the room for goblins. Nancy coughed politely and pointed to where Mangle Jaw and his raven were perched on the statue. "Hello," Mangle Jaw said, and he gave a little nod of his head. "Oh gosh," said Dad, nearly dropping the pile of books. "Postal Goblin Mangle Jaw at your service," said Mangle Jaw. "Welcome. Can we get you a cup of tea?" Dad nodded back. "Mangle Jaw doesn't have time," said Mum. "'Sright," said Mangle Jaw. He yanked on the raven's reins and flew to the floor. "None of that for me, thanking you. I'm here to do a job." The little Goblin hopped off his raven's back, walked round to a large pouch hanging off the side of the saddle and started rummaging inside. It had been ages since I'd seen a Goblin up close. I couldn't stop staring. Living in a hotel for magical creatures, I see all sorts of weird and bonkers things every day, but this was unusual even for us. Goblins mostly hated being near humans and always kept themselves to themselves, so we hardly ever had them to stay at our hotel. I'd forgotten how short they are too. Now that Mangle Jaw was standing on the floor, he was only about as tall as my knee, and his wrinkly pale skin made him look more like an oversized turnip than a living, breathing creature. "Here we are," Mangle Jaw chuckled, pulling out a tiny scroll of gold paper. A tiny scroll? I'd been hoping for a chest of magical treasure, or a dragon's egg, or at the very least a cool spell book from some long-lost relative. We did have a couple of witches in the family after all. Righty, said Mangle Jaw. He unrolled the scroll and read in a loud voice. A royal declaration from the palace of the Barrow Goblins. Mum gasped and steadied herself on my shoulder. The Barrow Goblins? What do they want with us? They never come up from underground, said Dad, do they? All the hairs on the back of my neck prickled. There are loads of different species of goblins in the world, and I'd never seen a Barrow Goblin. They live miles underground, near the centre of the earth. Prince Grogber, son of Queen Latrina, and heir to the throne of the Dark and Dookie Deep, is tired of his trinkly toes and will be coming for a holiday from his royal duties at the Nothing to See Here Hotel. Make feasts, funlies and festiblies in preparation for his divine arrivaling, or else you'll all be dead. Thank you. Nobody spoke. Mum gawped at Dad, and Dad just shook his head in amazement. A prince, Nancy finally said. A goblin prince, Mum stammered. Coming here. We'll need to redecorate the entire hotel, said Dad. He started running on the spot in panic. We'll need to get 10 times more food in, and fill up cellars with frog grog, and landscape the garden, and extend the swimming pool, and replace all the furniture. When is he coming? Mum asked Mangle Jaw, her eyes practically popping out of her head. Mangle Jaw mumbled. He frowned at the scroll and reread the message. Then he turned it over and read something on the back of the paper. Ah, here it is. Everyone held their breath. Tomorrow, Mangle Jaw said with a grin, at noon. That's the end of chapter 7. Doesn't look like they've got a long time to prepare for the prince, does it? I wonder if they'll get everything done in time. Children, hope you enjoyed the story. Don't forget, if you see somebody without a smile, give them one of yours. Take care.